My name is Jiang Ning. I died tragically after struggling to survive in the apocalypse for 3 years. I didn't expect to be reborn 3 days before the apocalypse. I sat up suddenly from the bed, my forehead soaked with sweat, my eyes full of confusion and despair. Looking at the familiar pre-apocalyptic apartment in front of me, I was shocked. The ding-dong sound keeps coming, and I pick up my phone and see that it is 9:32 on September 14, 2029, and it is all news that the super typhoon Cai Dao is about to land. After reading more than a dozen text messages, I am sure that I have been reborn, and there are only 2.5 days left. I didn't get happy. I was tired. Every level of this end of the world is purgatory. What can I do again? But I can't wait to die. I washed my face and looked at my young and beautiful self in the mirror. I put aside all distractions and started to make a list of supplies. I grew up in an orphanage. I was selfish but never suffered. I picked up cardboard and worked since I was a child. I did all kinds of work. I saved 200,000 yuan for more than 10 years to buy a house, but now it's all in vain. There was no need for classes in the afternoon or makeup classes in the evening. I notified my parents on WeChat that I was sick and made 6,000 yuan from the settlement fees. Remembering that medicines are hard to buy in the end times, I went to my childhood friend to buy medicines and transferred 50,000 yuan. There are too many supplies to prepare, so I went to return the AJ I bought for Yang Wei Kong first and got back more than 8,000 yuan. Then I rented a truck, bought stainless steel doors and explosion-proof glass, and the store installed them the day after tomorrow. In this life, I want to let Yang Wei Kong and Su Meng Yao, who killed me, taste the taste of not having my food and space. After paying the deposit, I rushed to the outdoor goods store to buy life-saving supplies such as assault boats and rubber boats. The store recommended it, but I only wanted something that could withstand the cold of -60 or 70 degrees. Finally, I bought polar cold weather clothing and mummy sleeping bags, and spent 12,000 yuan to load the truck with goods. I put it into the space when no one was paying attention. Diesel is not sold to private individuals, so I went to the auto repair shop to buy a fuel absorber and a barrel, and got 500 L of gasoline. The end of the world is too chaotic. I went to the security store to buy anti-slash and anti-stab clothing and bulletproof vests. Then I went to the clothing wholesale market and bought all kinds of clothes. Then I went to the daily necessities wholesale mall to buy various daily necessities, and also bought kerosene lamps and kerosene. When I came out of the wholesale market, it was dark. Zhong Chao prepared medicine, which cost more than 40,000 yuan, but it made me feel much more at ease. I went to the food street to order barbecue and beer, and when I saw the charcoal fire, I thought of buying charcoal, etc., but the store was not available to deliver. I had to go by myself, and after buying, I returned to the apartment and sorted out the supplies, but the space swallowed the supplies. I was depressed and then ecstatic, because the space could not be taken away by others. After being startled, I used my consciousness to check and found that the space had a time limit and could only stay for 2 hours. After taking a shower, I was relieved when I saw the new time was credited. After being awakened by a nightmare, I went into the space to check the supplies and calmed down. Then I went to the farmer's wholesale market to buy various vegetables, staple foods, and condiments. Also bought frozen food, dry goods, meat, eggs, incubators, seeds, and fruit tree seedlings. After shopping, I asked for a bone-cutting knife and a pig-killing knife for self-defense. Returned home to organize the space and filled up the large room. I was a little cunning and exited the space when there were 10 minutes left on the timer, but the breeding rabbit was kicked out. I am sure that the space has a time limit and that living things cannot be left, and I am in a good mood to check for gaps. Order takeout and stock up, preparing for the end of the world. After midnight, I found that the space-time can be accumulated, and I was ecstatic. The door and glass installers came, and I sent red envelopes in the group. The door and glass were installed, and I felt relieved. At this time, Yang Wei-kong called, and I sneered, thinking of his indifference in the previous life and Su Mingyao's calculations, and decided to take revenge. I went to the school library to get a book and put it in the space away from the camera. Yang Wei-kong called again, and I blocked him. I left the school and went to the supermarket, but didn't buy anything and went to return the car. The typhoon came early, and I went to pick up a package, and was almost swept away by the typhoon. Fortunately, I was rescued by a man, who drove me home. There was a little girl in the car. When I arrived at the gate of the community, I thanked him and reminded him to stock up on food. As soon as I entered the house, I saw Yang Wei-kong and Su Mingyao standing at the door. I looked at them coldly, destroyed the pendant, and drove them away. Then I started to collect water and cook, preparing for the end of the world. 2 kilometers quickly to the community. I gave the man 2,000 yuan, but was rejected. I got off the car and reminded him to stock up on food before carrying the express delivery into the community. When I looked up, I saw Yang Wei-kong and Su Mingyao standing in front of the apartment door. I remembered that I was bullied by them in the end of the world, and I felt bad and irritable. Speaking coldly to them, Yang Wei-kong was angry, but Su Mingyao wanted to stay overnight, but I refused. I destroyed the pendant, and they left angrily. I went into the house to open the package and prepare for the extreme cold. The wind was howling outside, and I fetched water to cook, not daring to open the fire casually. After finishing the work, I fell asleep and was awakened by the sound of an electric drill. I found that the new tenant next door was the man who saved me. I became alert and returned to the room. I felt that this life had changed too much, and I didn't know whether it was good or bad. I didn't expect the new neighbor to be the man who helped at the delivery point, and he continued to work. I thought he was very mysterious. I returned to my room and locked the door. The typhoon and heavy rain flooded the streets, and I stood on the balcony and looked out, and saw a tornado, which shocked me. My phone kept sending messages, and I turned off the internet because I was annoyed. I went into the kitchen to get busy, and heard a child crying. I didn't care, but the crying came from next door. I knocked on the door, and Dudu opened the door. She had a cold and a fever. I fed her medicine and left a note, listening to the sound of the typhoon. I was curious about the neighbors and puzzled by the man's behavior. The man went out during the typhoon. Dudu was abandoned. I took her home and showed her cartoons. Yang Wei-kong sent a message asking for food and was blocked by me. Some people ask for help in the group to exchange items, and some people show off their stockpiling. I feel complicated when I see it, and continue to browse my phone, waiting for the challenge of the end of the world. After I blocked Yang Wei-kong, my phone was turned off, Dudu fell asleep, and I ate noodles, which tasted delicious. I was planting potatoes on the balcony, and someone knocked on the door. It was Yang Wei-tsung's classmates. They were so hungry that they asked for food and wanted to spend money to buy it. When I didn't give them money, they got angry and kicked the door. I raised my knife and chopped them. They were scared and hid aside. I scolded them and warned them not to hit me again. They left in disgrace. I closed the door and found that Dudu was woken up. I comforted Dudu and gave her preserved egg and lean meat porridge and lollipops. Dudu said that his brother's cooking was not tasty, and 1801 came back to find Dudu. I told him about Dudu's situation, and he wanted to leave Dudu with me temporarily and pick him up in the evening. I agreed, and he gave me something to express his gratitude. After I accepted it, I continued to be vigilant of his every move. After 1801 left, I continued to wash the intestines, but the power went out. I entered the space and found that there was electricity in the space, which greatly increased my confidence. In the evening, I cooked cabbage noodles for Dudu, and Dudu ate with relish. It was dark, the community was flooded, and the group was no longer lively. I raised the price to exchange, but no one cared. 1801 came back to give me something and reminded me to stock up on water. After he took Dudu away, I started to cook until late at night. I came out to throw away the garbage and found that there was water stains at the door of 1801. I think he is not simple. I slept comfortably when it rained, and when I woke up, I found that the water had flooded into the community, and the residents on the first floor were looking for a place to live. No one responded to my request for help in the group. 1801 asked me to help install the old door to the staircase. We worked together to complete it, and I got a key. I continued to cook with a gas bottle. The water level rose. I entered the space to open up wasteland and farm, and my hands were blistered from exhaustion. When I came out, I found that the water was cut off and the internet was disconnected, and the world seemed to be shut down. The water in the space has not stopped, so I fill it up and continue. The residents on the first floor occupy the aisle, causing conflicts, and the group is full of resentment. Yang Wei Kong and Su Mengyao keep harassing me. The girl on the 12th floor asks for help. The typhoon has been going on for 5 days, and the community is in constant trouble. Some people have been electrocuted. I saw green bugs in the planting pots, the breeding rabbits were pregnant, and my mood improved. I was eating spicy hot pot and watching TV series, and Dudu knocked on the door and gave me apples. I taught her to hide her things. Zheng Weili asked me if she could stay with me. I let her live in 1803, and reminded her to hurry. 1801 went to find Dudu, who was reluctant to leave, saying that her brother's cooking was unpalatable. Hua Ishan was embarrassed, and so was I. He and I discussed how to deal with the garbage in the corridor, and we reached an agreement. Zheng Weili might move in, and I think she is good at fighting and has good character, so I want to find her as a partner. I went home to take a shower, change clothes, and prepare to cook bland food. The typhoon continued, and the water level was still rising. 2 days later, the first floor was flooded, and I saw someone risking to swim out of the community. Zheng Weili decided to move in, and I watched with a telescope. I saw her and Liu coming in a rubber boat, and I went downstairs to pick them up. I met Su Mengyao, and I ignored her, but she pestered me and I threw trash at her. I continued to go downstairs and picked up Liu and Zheng Weili. The residents on the second floor were also moving, and someone was trying to grab a rubber boat. Liu pulled out the air valve. The aunt and her son wanted to beat someone up, but were taught a lesson by Zheng Weili, and others blamed us. I brought a knife to intimidate them, and took Zheng Weili and Liu upstairs. Liu said that they would have moved if they had known. They were lucky that the supplies sent to the wrong address did not starve to death. We arrived at 1803, and Liu opened the door with a single hook, and I was shocked and sweating. Zheng Weili and Liu cleaned the room, and I helped. We decided not to touch the original owner's things. I prepared supplies for Liu and Zhong Chao, but not too much, for fear of attracting attention. I went home to hide my things, ate a hearty lunch and woke up after a nap. The network is down, and I feel lonely. I do exercise, plan my study time every day, and prepare to deal with the end of the world. I put my clothes in a compression bag, and cover the sewer to prevent cockroaches. Zheng Weili came to visit, and was shocked to see the things in my house. I lied that the second-generation rich sent a survival gift package, and Liu suspected that the second-generation rich knew the news in advance. We talked about Zhong Chao, who found a divorced girlfriend with children, who is more than a dozen years older than him. While we were talking, Zheng Weili saw the double tornado, and we were shocked. I picked up a telescope to watch the twin tornadoes, which were incredibly destructive, and destroyed the skyscraper. Zheng Weili and Liu were also frightened, and Liu lamented that the typhoon was like a kitchen knife. A woman in the opposite building committed suicide by jumping off the building with her child, and Zheng Weili shouted to dissuade her to no avail. Luyu covered Zheng Weili's eyes, and we were in a heavy mood. Luyu said the reason why the woman committed suicide was that she was betrayed by her husband and lost her money and life. After 2 consecutive disasters, they went back to the next door in a low mood. I closed the door, listened to music to adjust my mood, and ate delicious food to pass the time. The typhoon continued, and Dudu knocked on the door again. I found bruises on her body, and it turned out that her brother had beaten her.